Today, we're going to be talking about blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. I'm about to begin a project in that space and reflecting back over the past few years, how little I knew, how much I've learned, and how little I still know, kind of paradoxical there. I think I'm at a pivotal point where before I cross over and become a domain expert, while I am still on the other side of the fence, the seeker, the person who's asking questions, while I'm still there, I think it's a pivotal moment for me to share what I've learned so far, because what happens, it seems, in general, when you become very knowledgeable about a specific topic, you learn the high-level jargon and all the technical terms of it. Years in, it's very difficult to explain it in layman's terms. You'll be like, yeah, what do you mean? A DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. And you're like, bro, before I didn't understand one thing, now I don't understand two things. You just explained something that I don't understand. And that ends up happening, right? When people are very knowledgeable in their field, there's a philosophical idea that if you know something well enough, you should be able to explain it very simply. But the reality of it, of life, business, spaces, are that most people who are very technical and they have a ton of knowledge in an area, they'll try to explain something and they'll explain it in a way that you won't be able to understand it. And they themselves will struggle to get back down to that place where they themselves didn't understand it. I'm in between that right now in terms of blockchain and cryptocurrency. I still don't fully understand it, but I understand enough to be able to share some of the initial overview of it, but not so much that I have to use all these technical terms and get so bogged down by the technical details. In fact, I want to do the opposite. I want to approach this topic from a different perspective, from more of like a holistic place, if that makes sense, more of like a bird's eye overview / philosophical. I don't know, philosophical is not the right word, but I'm trying to look at it from far out. What's going on? How do we make sense of it as normal human beings? How do we take advantage of it? What's it mean? So on and so forth. So that our listeners could have somewhat of a relationship with the topic, because it's meaningful and it's going to be even more meaningful in the same way that, mobile technology is meaningful. We all use it. Blockchain technology is going to be as meaningful to everyone in the coming future. So I want my listeners to have the opportunity to learn about it. I made some notes, just basic notes to make sure that I cover everything. All right, so let's get into this. First and foremost, no pressure, right? Relax. I heard a great line by a friend of mine, Nick Fisher. He said, he was explaining to another friend of mine, they were talking about crypto, and he's like, you don't have to understand how it works. It's a reality of life. He says, how well do you understand mobile technology? How well? Waves, this, that. We don't understand it. I'm talking about a layman. We don't understand it, but you use it, right? It's a reality. Same thing with blockchain. So take a chill. You don't have to understand it, and you don't have to take pressure to understand it. If you pay attention, especially to a conversation like this, where we're just going to look at it from a broad, far zoomed out perspective, not the intricate, technical one that gets confusing, just a philosophical one, you'll come to understand what's going on enough for you to understand the space and where it's going. So the first thing is relax. let's do an intro to blockchain. So it's all the buzz now, right? Blockchain, crypto. Even Jordan Peterson did an episode on it. I was getting messages from people. It's funny how, but it's buzzing in the media, right? It's becoming this, more and more people are talking about it. It's ironic. It's been around for more than a decade, but I guess it's the time now. It's the time when people are paying attention, and it's time for it. The utilization of it, implementation of the technology is maturing, and there's real utility. So let's look at it. Let's get into it. Cryptocurrency is a byproduct of a technology called blockchain. And before we talk about cryptocurrency, we have to talk about blockchain. What is blockchain technology? And we're going to start from the beginning. I might mention a couple things that are technically not 100% on par, but I'm not trying to be 100% technical. I'm trying to give an overview of the idea behind all this stuff. Blockchain technology is a technology to decentralize stuff. What's decentralization? To understand decentralization, let's understand centralization. Centralization is a very simple concept. Take, for example, a business. Someone owns it. It's centralized. 3 people own it. It's still centralized because those 3 people, or the people on that board, they make the decisions, right? Banking is centralized. Chase.com, if they say your limit of Zelle is $5,000 a day, it's $5,000 a day. Granted, they may have that requirement from Zelle, but that's not the point. The point is, when something is central, that means it goes through a central authority. And it's like that across the board. Business, life, everything we understand, government, you could say, is kind of like a central authority. Now we have stuff in politics that are set up for voting and this, that, and the other to try to give power to the people, but it's still centralized to a certain degree. That's the notion of centralization, where all roads lead back to one place. Facebook, if Facebook decides to add a like button, they do it. You have no say in the matter. If they want to remove it, you have no say in the matter. They want to block you, kick you off their platform, you have no say in the matter. That's centralization. Now, for various reasons, as we evolve with technology, we come to understand that centralization is problematic. Why? Well, look at the last election in the US. Look at all the drama, Trump, voter fraud, voting machines, tampering. These are all centralized problems. If everything is going through a software, a computer, a system, it's centralized. So when things are centralized, there's more opportunity for it to fail. It could be hacked. It could have security vulnerabilities, so on and so forth. So it doesn't matter how far out you go with this concept of centralization. Centralization is problematic for a progressive thinking, technologically advanced society. Same idea of having a king. One king decides the fate of the entire people. Centralization. So if you understand the problem of centralization, makes you wonder what the solution is. In this conversation, in this space, the solution proposed is decentralization. How do you decentralize something? How do you take it from having one authority, one place where it could be broken, if you will, to having it decentralized? That is blockchain technology. They figured out, in essence, I guess you could say maybe a mathematical formula through encryption, stuff that I'm not going to get into. The technology, whatever the zeros and ones are, is essentially a formula for decentralizing things. So that was the initial concept. Blockchain technology is a technology to decentralize stuff. Absolutely mind-blowing. So simple, right? That's not complicated by any means. But in the progression of technology, how we go from one thing to the other, it is quite fascinating. It really is. Decentralization. Now we have a technology where we could decentralize something. What else is centralized? Money, currency, right? The United States Federal Reserve, so on. Money is one of the biggest problems when it comes to centralization, control, and all that stuff. Banking, Uncle Sam, people telling you what you could do with your money, what you can't, and all this stuff, right? Centralization is a huge problem if we want to talk about real freedom. So absolutely brilliant. Blockchain technology decentralizes stuff. The extent of stuff it could decentralize is what we're seeing now. When we hear about all these companies springing up in that space, all these different cryptos and all this stuff we're going to get to, it's in essence another individual or group of people coming up with a new concept of something they could potentially decentralize or apply a better technology to an existing system. Right? Fascinating. So without getting into any of the technical aspects of it, that's blockchain technology, the concept of decentralizing stuff. Now let's move to the next step, cryptocurrency. So blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, what? Two different things, but they kind of work together. I guess you could say one of the first things that were decentralized was the concept of a currency, a digital currency. That's what introduced the technology. But now that we've evolved from that, you have to think of it in reverse. It may have been introduced with cryptocurrency, but now we understand blockchain as its own thing, and crypto is using that technology. So Bitcoin is a digital currency that uses that technology of decentralization. And it works off of a simple premise, if you will. There is no bank. There is no central authority. How do you decentralize something? The code is completely open source. Anyone could process the system. And if all computers agree with a transaction, let's say, then the system agrees. In other words, it's a process of consensus. Now I'm just explaining how the technology works in terms of how it relates to crypto. I wouldn't get into the technicals of it, but just to understand crypto a little bit, I'm going to give you a high-level overview. If I tell you that I gave you $40, nobody else saw it or agrees with it, and you don't agree with it, then the consensus is that I didn't give you that money. There's no proof. I could bang a wall. Well, what do you mean? I gave you $40. It's in your pocket. No proof. The blockchain is essentially a system of proof whereby there's no central authority that says that you did it. It's not Chase saying that I deposited a check of $40. It's anyone and everyone who's mining these transactions is essentially agreeing. Yes, he deposited 40. Yes, 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 yes. And if a certain percentage say yes, the consensus on the blockchain is that it happened. So simple, but so retardedly strong and powerful if you apply that to various other stuff, as you'll see as we continue down into this. Absolutely mind-blowing. It's a system of consensus. You can't hack it because it doesn't matter if you try to break in or smash one person's computer who's mining these transactions, there's 100,000 others. No government controls it. No person controls it. Even the creator doesn't control it. It's just a piece of software that was created, given to the community, to the world, and now the world could use it. And guess what? The world is using it. And that's the point here. See, if somebody created this and nobody made use of it, there's no value there. The whole idea of Bitcoin's been around for years, more than a decade. Or wait, more than a decade? I forget what year it was created, but certainly 2013 or '08 or something, maybe '05. I don't know. I remember when I was a teenager, I remember Bitcoin. It had slow traction, but by now it's huge. It's another currency. So of course, absolutely, people are using it. And because people are using it, it has value and it's growing. And that's where the technology is growing. Okay, now let's move a little further away from how it started and more into what it is at this point. I think the smartest thing is to think of cryptocurrency as the stock of the technology behind whatever cryptocurrency the company is. So for example, take some of the newer like Ethereum or Solana. These are companies, these are technology companies who have very specific goals and what they're trying to solve in the tech sector. Their coin, you should think of as their stock. Just like Ford, Chevy, Shopify, Amazon have stocks. We're very familiar with stocks. There's a company, and then there's the stock that represents, same thing here. There's a tech company, and then there's a coin that is their stock. It's the simplest way to think about it. And when you think about it like that, it doesn't scare you that there's so many, because it's irrelevant. It's just like trading stocks, buying, selling, moving around. It's irrelevant. There could be a million coins. There's nothing scary about it. There's nothing to worry about. Now, cryptocurrencies are very volatile, even more so than stocks. And that's why people are afraid of them. But that's also why a lot of people make a lot of money from them. However, that shouldn't deter you from the grand picture of things, because there are solutions to that too. Just because cryptocurrency stocks are high and very volatile up and down, there are inventions for that as well. For example, stable coins. Stable coins are coins that represent or relate to a physical currency, like US dollar, let's say. So USDC might be like Coinbase's stable coin, and it never changes its price. What's the point? The point is you have the technology and you don't have the volatility of the ups and downs, losing or not losing. But what we see from this is that we're shifting into using blockchain technology more and more, regardless of the stock and the trading aspect of it all. One of the big questions that are raised with regards to notion of decentralization is that there's no privacy. Everything is out there in the public, right? I could see any transaction on the blockchain, and that's what makes it decentralized. And that while that does create complexity, there are already workarounds for that. For example, just in cryptocurrency itself, which again, cryptocurrency is currency using blockchain technology. There are many other stuff that use blockchain technology, not just currency. So cryptocurrency is a utility of blockchain technology. Remember that. There are already inventions. For example, there are privacy coins. You have Monero. You have PRV, privacy. These are coins to solve those issues. So if your worry is anonymity, let's say, privacy or security. You don't want even anyone in the world to be able to find out that you moved money to someone from someone. You could use those platforms. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are just wallet addresses and you're sending between them. But it is true that the traditional blockchain is open to the public, and that's what makes it decentralized. That's what makes it a strong technology. But there are ways to circumvent that as well. And I think, for example, the way that PRV does it, or privacy. If I shield money to you, if I want to send money to you, it'll send it to a pool first, and from the pool, it'll send it to you. So it masks it. So nobody can see that my wallet went to your wallet, let's say $100 or 100 PRV. It goes through a pool. So imagine I dump money into a pool, and then there's somebody in the pool who's distributing it to the right place. The blockchain only sees that, and then it sees that, but there's no correlation because there's thousands of people putting money into the pool. There's all kinds of cool stuff and cool inventions within the space to solve different dilemmas. But in order to start getting into cryptocurrency and understanding why it's taking over, how it's the future and all that, I would invite you to rethink what is value in general. What is value? I like to say that our kids or their kids, they're not going to pay for an ice cream with cash. They're going to pay for it with crypto. And I say that because it should make you think the notion of value has to be rethought if you want to understand crypto, if you want to understand what's going on in the crypto space. We're traditional. We understand cash, maybe credit card. We don't have this concept that something digital could have value. But the new generations and the people who are into this, they are living it. Our kids are going to live it. We have the struggle of rethinking it because our understanding of value is biased. The other day, I was in the restaurant with my wife, and the server, who's probably a teenager, I was just overheard a conversation he was having. He was talking to some of his friends who were also sitting there at the restaurant about crypto. And I was just thinking to myself, like, this is what you're going to see more and more. Our kids and their kids, they're not going to be into stocks, traditional stocks. Crypto lingo that we have a hard time understanding, they're just growing up with. So we only stand to benefit by learning it and getting involved. But think about the notion of value for a second if you want to understand what's going on with crypto, or if you're so worried about this concept that it may not have value or whatever. Just think about value for a second. What does it mean that something has value? So you might be poised to go to, like, if it's backed by ABC. No. Right here, think small. Don't get so technical. What has value? Traditionally, value was in bartering, right? I have a bale of hay. You have a cow that we can milk. Here's some hay. You could feed the cow, and I'll take a gallon of milk, and I'll feed my kids. Barter. So physical things had value. Why? Because it gave you something in return. That's what I mean. Something's valuable at the end of the day. It could get you something. That's what value is. Stop thinking of cash. Forget about cash. That concept's dying. So if you think of value in terms of something that could give you something in return, what's it matter what it is? Really? So you might say at the end of the day, everyone takes cash. That's because of how you grew up and how the world ran until now and how you were thinking. But I'll venture to say that the people deep in the crypto space, and I know such people, I myself am not that deep into it, but I see and watch these people closely. I have some people who work for me. I see what they're doing. I talk about this stuff all day with them. They're able to get whatever they need for the most part, almost, maybe 80% of what they need. 80% of their life revolves around exchanging cryptocurrency for whatever they need. And if that's possible, do you still worry about the value of cryptocurrency? Think about that for a second. If you could theoretically live your entire life never touching cash, only playing with crypto, buying on Amazon with crypto, getting paid from your employer on crypto with crypto, if everything that you do in your life you could get done with cryptocurrency, what value does cash have? That's a rhetorical question. My point is, there are people already living today in the space whereby they could pretty much get whatever they want using crypto. So if you worry about the value of cryptocurrency, then you need to rethink the concept of value to begin with, without getting too technical. If you get very technical, sure, you'll have real arguments. If everything falls apart, if the zombies take over, I get it. Meanwhile, cell phone technology and radio wave technology and all these technologies came out, they took over, and they were the future. There's no reason to think that blockchain technology is going anywhere. It's a great technology, and every day new companies are springing up and implementing it into everyday life in ways that you don't even understand yet. Some of the companies and softwares that you interface with are probably already using blockchain technology, and you don't even know. Imagine voting, government, using blockchain, can't be tampered with. You might want to argue that there have been hacks, marginal. Yeah, some of the big blockchains have had some occurrences here and there, but compared to what you could do on websites and software and stuff like that, it's nominal. It's not even worth a conversation. It is hands down so much more secure, so much more unhackable, and all that stuff. So let's review for a second. This is really fascinating. A technology comes out to decentralize things in the form of cryptocurrency, but we look at it as a technology of its own. Happens to be, it was introduced via cryptocurrency. Now, we could use this technology for all kinds of things, as we'll get into a little bit. And whatever company you could create your own coin, your own cryptocurrency. Why would you do that? As a stock, as an ecosystem. I read somewhere, I hope I'm not misquoting the number, about 3% of this planet own cryptocurrency. That's very little if you think about it. 3% of this planet own cryptocurrency. Let's look at a couple statistics. I want to make 2 points with regards to these statistics, but let's see if we'll read it. Bitcoin had a market capitalization of 1,072 billion as of February 21st, 2021. The global blockchain market will go up to 23 billion by 2023. The highest number of global daily Bitcoin transactions in Q1 is 367,536. Between 2012 and 2020, Bitcoin has gained 193 and change percent. The market size for cryptocurrency will get to 108.7 million by 2026. The user index of 2021 shows a 97% confidence in cryptocurrencies. Turkey is the country with the highest rate of cryptocurrency adoption at 20%. So that's an interesting one, and this is one of the points that I wanted to make. a very small percent of human beings on this planet currently own cryptocurrency. I think it's under 5%. The cryptocurrency market cap in general, I believe, is less than 10 or 20% of the entire market cap in the United States. Just look at these bird eye statistics, regardless of what the exact number is. It's somewhere in that range. It's almost guaranteed that over the next 10, 20, 30 years, that's going to change. Cryptocurrency will probably be 20, 30, 40% and slowly creep up. And 20, 30, 40, 50% of the planet is going to use it. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that to say that we're still early. I always talk about being early. Why didn't I in 2013? Why? Do it right now. Get involved right now. It's still early. It's 100% still early. It's at its baby stages. Now is the time to get in. Now is the time to invest in cryptocurrency. Now is the time to learn about it. Now is the time to see if your company could pivot, utilize, or bring blockchain technology to your space. Now is the time. Not in 10 years, not in 20 years. The space is going to be so far progressed in 10 years from now. The space moves really quick. Now is the time to get involved. Turkey is the country with the highest rate of cryptocurrency adoption, 20%. 20%. I'll make a prediction that the United States will be at 20, 30% in the next 10 years. Now is the time. So the thing with investing in crypto is that there are emotions involved. In all investing, it's like stocks. I'm familiar with that problem. I myself am not a day trader. I'm working on a bot. There are softwares out there. You could hire a developer, pay him $1,000 or $2,000. They'll develop a bot for you that could trade however you want it to trade. The reason you want a bot to do it and you don't want to do it yourself is because a bot doesn't have emotions. So you might think to yourself, it's out of my purview. I can't do stuff like that. No, you can. You absolutely can. We live in a world where everything's behind the computer. Get onto Fiverr, get onto Upwork, find a developer, harness your investments, your success, your future. Don't sit around on your couch. It's not for me. I don't understand. There's nothing to understand. Buy crypto now, sit on it for 5, 10 years. And if you buy 10, 20, 30 different ones, if one of them blows up, you're rich. What don't you understand about that? It's that simple. You can't take 1 hour to learn how to buy some crypto. There's no excuse. So figure it out. You know what I mean? Or don't cry when everyone else is winning and you're losing. Oh, I should have. I knew. I heard. I did. No, you either do it or you don't. There's nothing to it. Investing has a lot of emotion connected to it. It is very hard to purchase $5,000 worth of something, 10 grand, and not get emotional when the price drops and it goes up. Yeah, it's a very volatile, up and down, up and down. Who cares? Big picture, zoom out, long game. Remember the movie, Now You See Me, Now You Don't. The long game trick. It's like a 30-year magic trick. Long game. Take some extra dollars, throw it in, hundreds, thousands, whatever, and sit. If you can't do that, like I said, there's a software called Trality. There's tons that could do it for you. Just set up the parameters. Let it buy for you. Don't even look at it. Just don't lose your password of your wallet, That's in terms of investing. Now is the time to invest. So, but let's not get carried away here. The idea here is that every tech company that comes out has a coin. You think of it as its stock. Sometimes the coin is the utility, but think of it as its stock. You could buy it, invest in it, use it, trade it, whatever. Doesn't matter if there's a lot of coins. It's irrelevant because on most marketplaces, the big coins, you could trade between them. So rethink value. Stop thinking cash, one currency. It's meaningless. Soon we're going to go to websites. They'll accept the top 100 coins. So it doesn't matter what coin you have. It's irrelevant. It's all digits on an app. Now let's move a little further down the line. Granted, you understand blockchain. Now the concept of it, the concept of decentralizing stuff. You understand cryptocurrency is a decentralized currency. There's no one central place that's telling you that you actually have 5 Bitcoins. The consensus amongst the entire network, amongst the entire world, is that you have 5 and therefore you have 5. Concept of decentralization. The utility of crypto, using it as a stock in tech businesses. So if a new business comes out and you want to know if you should invest in it, look into the business. Aside from like the tokenomics, which is a whole nother story, because there's a lot of coins that come out that are like, people literally develop coins to rip people off. They create a whole hype, a meme coin. Everyone buys in, and then they rug pull, which means that they sell all their coins, and everyone else is screwed. People do that, and there are ways to identify those types of coins, but stay away from that. If you're not into it, stay away from that stuff. Don't worry about that stuff. That's for like traders who are really trying to capitalize on every turn. Even the famous ones, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and all the top 5, Cardano, whoever's up there, it doesn't matter. You have no problem. And if you wonder what the future of that particular coin is, look into the company. What is their technology? What are they bringing to the world? There are all kinds of different companies. There are blockchain tech companies who are focused on cybersecurity. There are ones focused on healthcare. There are everything. All the smart businesses now are pivoting, transitioning over to blockchain. You know how in the past 5-10 years, people would always say, like, in business, it's like everyone's pivoting to online, right? And those who did well. There are body shops who became studios, YouTube studios. They have these huge YouTube channels with 1 million subscribers. They used to be a body shop that fixes cars. Now they're a body shop studio full of cameras, and it's no longer about fixing the car. It's about the show. Happens to be they also fix cars for the show. I was looking for a gas company out in Baltimore for one of the real estate properties. I bumped into a website. Think about this. Gas propane. Typically, it's a regular service company you call Suburban Propane or whatever these companies are called. One company pivoted technology, beautiful app, and they took a physical service and turned it into technology. And anyone smart did that. You know, in almost every industry, it was possible to do that. Pivot to tech. Take your business, make it tech. What's happening now? Take your business, blockchain. And if you don't know how, you have to speak to a professional. One of the stuff that I discuss with my colleagues is potentially down the road opening up like a consultation place where we could communicate with companies about the potential of pivoting their company to use blockchain or how they could grow in the blockchain space. Because not everybody necessarily has the knowledge and the prowess to explore that on their own. But whatever the case is, it's possible. It's not every business could utilize blockchain. And the early adapters, the ones who do it, become the leaders in the new space of technology. For example, that's essentially what NFTs are. I'm sure you heard about NFTs. NFT stands for non-fungible token. And it utilizes the blockchain, but it introduced a new concept, a rarity concept. I could pick up two items. Let's say they were the same item, but let's say I had two phones here. Let's say these were two identical phones. And you could say there's no rarity. In the case of a phone, you could say there is because there's a VIN number, but whatever. If I had two pairs of earphones in my hand, one here, one here, imagine these were separated, one piece, two piece. And I was holding them, and there was no difference between them, right? Non-fungible token, an NFT, creates rarity. There could only be one, and it's registered in the blockchain as unique. That's the concept of an NFT. So you might think, like, what's the big deal about that? What's there? To each of these things, well, I'm not getting into it so much. I don't want to turn this into a 3-hour conversation, but blockchain, NFT, all of these things have so many utilities. The creativity of how you can use them, that's up to you. We're early. The technology is here. You come up with something, create something, hire some developers, think, brainstorm, learn the technology, understand how powerful it is, and start applying it to everything. And that's what you're going to start seeing. That's what I mean by companies are starting to pivot. So take NFT, right? That non-fungible token concept. In the physical world, there's no distinguishing between this dollar and that dollar. I gave him $1 and him $1. What's the difference? There's no difference. NFT essentially says this is rare. There's only one. It can never be another one. Boom. That technology is a fascinating technology. It could be applied to so many things. One of the things that it was right away applied to, again, how it was introduced. Remember, blockchain was introduced with Bitcoin, but it doesn't mean that we could only use it for cryptocurrency. The technology, blockchain, is a technology of its own that we now utilize for everything. Crypto is now crypto. Happens to be. It works off of the blockchain, but it's two separate things. NFT, same thing. It was introduced, and all the hype right now is in art, cartoons, characters, and all that stuff. They're saying, this picture sold for 40 million, all that stuff. So there are fantastic artists, illustrators, cartoonists, and all these people. Instead of writing on a piece of paper, they create digital art. They mint it as an NFT, which essentially means that it goes onto the blockchain. There's only one of them. It can never be duplicated. Now, I'm just thinking, you understand baseball cards, right? Collecting baseball cards. You understand collecting stamps, right? People collect stuff, paraphernalia, memorabilia, and all that stuff. Think of the same thing, only this is digital. And the difference is, in the physical world, it's almost easier to create a clone, a fake copy, a lookalike. In the NFT/blockchain space, it's very hard, if at all possible, to mess with the system. So when you own an NFT, a non-fungible token that happens to be, let's say, a picture of a character or art, you own it and nobody else owns it. And then they go a step further. Not only the person selling it could then make money, sell it for a certain amount of crypto, artists are now moving, forget about Shutterstock, go to sleep. OpenSea. NFT marketplaces. You could set your own price. You could set a commission rate that you make on every time it resells. You could determine how many times it should resell. So think about all the business utility that's going into this technology. We're putting the power into the people's hands, not into a central location. We're decentralizing everything. If you sell art on Shutterstock, you're playing by their rules. If you mint your art as NFT, you create the rules. How much you want to make, how much commission, how much you can resell. You can make money off of every copy that resells if you want to allow 5 copies of it, 10 copies of it. And we're just getting started. This is an example in the art space. So a lot of NFT has no real value, if you will. It's only in terms of, let's say, collector's items. The baseball player signed the card, right? The celebrity signed the ball. That's all moving to blockchain, NFT. Imagine the baseball player has a collection of NFTs that an illustrator made specifically for him, and he listed it. There's only 20 of them. Why wouldn't it sell for $100,000? Derek Jeter's NFT, $100,000. He signed it himself. Let's say it has whatever digital signature he put on it. It can't get lost, can't get broken, it's nothing. It's on the blockchain forever, infinitely. So these are retarded concepts for people who don't understand technology, but why is it any less real than every post you look at on Instagram and Facebook? Why is it any less real than an actual physical baseball card that's eventually going to wither away and die out, get lost, tear apart? And so the notion of NFT technology, that the invention of it is fascinating. You can start applying it to stuff. Me and my team are working on a project called Kosher Coin or Kosher Token. We're still deliberating depending on which way the technology goes. By the way, the difference between a coin and a token: a coin means essentially you have your own blockchain. Tokens are created on existing blockchains. Anyone could create a token. You could go create a token on the Ethereum blockchain. Call it Moshe Yankel Zudach token and start marketing it. Nobody's going to buy it because you have no why, you have no reason, you have no tech behind you, you have no concept, but you could do it. So anyway, me and my team were working on Kosher Coin or Kosher Token, whatever we end up calling it. And one of the products on our roadmap, not the MVP, this is down the road, but just to give you another example from a different perspective, one of the products that we want to create is we want to bridge the gap between NFT and physical products. So the premise that I have is that, like my father, he sculpts. He's a sculptor. He makes paper mache sculpts, and then he sells it, let's say, right? So we sell a piece for 15 grand. So think about artists who do paintings and physical stuff. Ownership of that physical piece of item, how does that work? A receipt? If I go to my father's house, pick it up, stick it into my house, it's mine. You stole it, prove it. Or how about when things actually get stolen in the art world? So these are real problems, real life problems. The notion of owning something in a world full of lies is a very interesting concept. It's all about consensus. We see that in politics. Whoever does marketing better, that's the consensus. Humans are like sheep. We just go along with whatever is said the most times. Government, media companies, right, left. That's how consensus works in the world. Don't get down on yourself. It's psychology. Say something enough times, you believe it. In the world of art and physical high-priced assets, the line could become very blurry very quickly. Now, what if I connect NFT technology to the physical item? I say, whoever owns the NFT of this sculpture owns the sculpture. Kind of like whoever owns the title of a car owns the car. Only this is not a physical piece of paper. This is digital and it can't be tampered with. That's one of the products that we want to work on in Kosher Coin. A platform on the application whereby artists could mint their physical stuff, essentially giving it a unique NFT. And whoever buys the NFT also gets a box in the mail with the art. And when the art is sold, it has to be sold with the NFT. Whoever owns the digital NFT owns the physical. What's the point? Without the digital, the physical has no value. Cars themselves, titles have titles, right? Titles will probably become some form of NFT. Instead of being centralized, it'll become some form of NFT on the blockchain because it's a lot more secure, a lot less tamperable. I just made up that word, tamperable. But you get what I'm saying. Any one of these technologies on the decentralized concept could be utilized a million ways. I have on my roadmap already 10 different novel ideas that I want to introduce into the blockchain space. Some are novel, some aren't, but a lot are because we're so early. If you understand the technology, you understand how you could apply it. The various offshoots of technology that are coming from blockchain are just getting started, and there are already so many. Right? We talked about cryptocurrency, NFT. Have you ever heard of DAO? Decentralized autonomous organization. It's another technology. We can use it utilizing the blockchain and utilizing something called smart contracts, whereby businesses are shifting their companies to use decentralized autonomous organizations, to become decentralized autonomous organizations. And that essentially means that the business itself runs off of computer code. There's no more human dictating. There's no more king. There's no more high horse. If a group of people come together and they want to start a business, and you could program the contracts, the system, to run by a certain set of rules, and then everyone in that business essentially follows the rules. And rules could only be changed in accordance with how you set it up. The point is, you're not going to have an angry boss that walks in one day, I'm pissed off, you're fired. Sorry. Doesn't allow. It's an example if you set up smart contracts to dictate when an employee could be fired. But there really is no limit to how you could utilize blockchain technology. Unbelievably fascinating. It's changing everything. You may hear the word DEX, D-E-X. That refers to decentralized exchange. Because exchanges now, like money exchanges, they're centralized, right? You could open an exchange and then you own that business, you make the policies. A DEX is a decentralized exchange. The letter D for decentralized is going to start being applied to everything when we figure out how we can make it decentralized. Of course, the government is struggling with this concept because some of these blockchains cannot be shut off. When we say decentralized, when Monero says be your own bank, they mean it. You can move millions of dollars around in seconds for marginal fees, and nobody could do a damn thing about it, not the government, not anyone. Obviously, you could, say that creates problems for various reasons, so on and so forth, but that's if you look at it from that perspective. What about all the good? There are so many problems we have in society because things are centralized. Decentralizing things gives more control to ourselves. So let's run through this one last time as a quick overview of everything we discussed. We did the intro of blockchain technology. We discussed how it is a technology of decentralization. It was introduced with cryptocurrency, but the technology is its own thing and it could be used for stuff that's not related to cryptocurrency. I like to think of it as crypto being its stock, because that is how it is being utilized right now. One of the ways that it's being utilized like that right now, one of the reasons people are selling NFTs and people are creating these collections and all this stuff for new companies is because I'm getting carried away in my mind because so many different things are popping into my head. One of the ways that I'm going to come back to that because I just lost my train of thought, but you know what I just remembered, there are some pretty big companies on coins backing it that are working on decentralized video hosting. So imagine a YouTube on the blockchain where, first of all, nobody could yank your video off, none of that kind of crap, because there's no central authority. But more than that, think about the earnings. How many content creators are there? How much control do we have over our earnings? Virtually zero. By decentralizing video hosting and content creation platforms, content creators are going to have so much more control and be able to make so much more money in the process of what we're doing. I could go on and on. I mean, you could apply this and you're going to see this coming to fruition, la'at, piece by piece. But at least with this background, you'll understand a little bit about what's happening, right? So we talked about crypto being its stock, the volatility issue. It's not really an issue because there are stable coins if you want the technology but not the volatility. But if you want to invest, then you do want the volatility. So if you're going to invest, but don't get emotional about it. Do the long game. Yes, it'll go up and down 50,000 times in between. Don't look at that. Just put money in and look the other way. Wait 5-10 years. It's going to go up. The technology is too strong and too vital and too integrated already for it to like disappear. People like myself and everyone else in the space is just implementing. It's just before, you were using regular software, regular hosting. Soon you'll be using blockchain. It's inevitable. Public and privacy, coins, again, if that's a concern of yours, those do exist. We talked about the notion of rethinking value, right? Rethinking what it means that something's valuable. I think it's one of the most important points here, if you really want to understand people who are dabbling in that space. Instead of saying, oh, they don't get it. No, you don't get it. You're still thinking traditionally. They understand. Why do they understand? Because they're factually turning things over. The first piece of real estate that I ever purchased was a piece of land, L-A-N-D, land, in a blockchain company called The Sandbox. The Sandbox has a crypto called Sand. You could buy it. It also went up recently. Their idea is the metaverse. You probably noticed Facebook recently changed their name to Meta. Why do you think they're doing that? They know what's coming. They're trying to be part of it. They're a little behind in certain respects, but they're trying to move way past social media. They renamed themselves to Meta. They understand what the younger generations are into and what's coming. Square recently changed their name to Block, as in blockchain. So big companies are making big moves because they understand what's coming. The first piece of real estate that I ever purchased was a piece of land in the metaverse. What? A piece of digital real estate? Literally, a piece of digital real estate. The Sandbox created a digital world they parceled up the land, and it was only X amount of land, maybe 130,000 pieces of land. And you could have bought it. You could still buy it. Huge companies like Atari, Binance, different gaming stuff, they were buying up land. Now what happens? Like any NFT or whatever, value goes up because it becomes more and more rare. Now, I'm not going to get into what you could do on the land. You could build games on it, and people who are into gaming, the gaming is heavily tied into all these technologies. But my point is, I bought a piece of land and it was 0.5 of an Ethereum, at which point it was about $1,700. Maybe 2 months ago. I forget exactly when it was. I already got an offer last week for $10,000 for that piece of land. I didn't sell it. I have it listed now for 5 Ethereum, which is about $20,000. The people in the space, I'm not even heavily into it. I just put a little here, put a little there, and I sit on them. The people living it day to day, minute to minute, they are experiencing what it means to live in a different value system. When they have to burn $50 on gas fees for an Ethereum transaction, they're used to it. It means nothing to them. You win some and you lose some. You buy this NFT today, this piece of art, you resell it tomorrow for $300. You bought it for $100, you sell it for $300. Boom, so you made $200 minus some fees, $150, $100. They're living in that space. We need to rethink value, not them. That's the future. We're thinking old school. The statistics, I didn't get into it heavily, but it's low now. It's impressive, but low. And being that it's so low, it allows us to see that there's big stuff coming and how early we still are. And that's about it. I hope what I shared gives you somewhat of an understanding and overview. I don't think it was very high level. I tried as hard as I could to kind of stay simple and away from any of the wacky stuff that even I have a hard time processing. But the more time I spend in it, the more I learn, the more I understand. The more I understand, the more I'm able to do stuff in that space. I hope to be working and developing a really phenomenal product myself, Kosher Coin or Kosher Token. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be sharing any significant updates with you when the time comes. If you have any questions, if you want any specific topics covered, do let us know. Peace and love.